I wanted to talk about is scariest movie you've ever seen. Like you still feel the, for lack of a better term, PTSD from it today. I will tell my story real quick. Mine is John Carpenter's The Fog, the original. So I watched John Carpenter's The Fog, and I swear I watched it on Elvira's Movie Macabre, right? So I'm watching this thing, and it scared the shit out of me, right? So then I went to a friend's house, and we spent the night at his house, and I was sleeping on like an army cot right next to the sliding glass door, and we live like 20 minutes from the ocean in SoCal, right? And I shit you not, that night the fog rolled in, and I could see it. I'm laying here staring at that window waiting for those creatures to come out. I did not sleep that whole night. I was so traumatized by that movie, and even to this day I can feel that. You know, you still get those feelings when you watch it. What about you guys in terms of like just really when you were a kid? Rachel, go.
I want
to make sure Rachel gets proper screen time.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask her a question too, because I know that Rachel has watched a lot of horror movies and is probably more into horror movies than I am. But she told me a few months ago that there was one movie that couldn't get past the opening credits.
Okay. All right, let her talk. I want to hear the story.
Already felt embarrassed because I knew I had to tell this.
Well, I saw you doing this when I was talking, and I'm like, oh, I want to see it.
It's really embarrassing. Well, I need to establish a few things.
Establish.
Last year, right around Halloween, like every day for like the whole week, I was watching a horror movie every night, alone at night. And I was like, okay, like I would get scared at things, but I was fine. And let me also say, I was working at a job at that time where I would have to go alone into the scariest, darkest, longest basement you could possibly imagine. Like dingy, dark, alone every day and a night. And I put on for my horror movie of that night, Long Legs. And I watched the intro. And by the time the like title screen came up, I like was shaking out of fear, and like I got up and I walked out of the room and I was like, I can't sit down anymore. I was so terrified. I don't know what it was. There was something about the intro that I was like, I can never pick this up again. I can't do it. And then the next day at work, I was like, I can't go into the basement, guys. I really can't. And I had to, and I was like running. I was so scared for like days afterwards.
And just because of this, right?
Did you ever finish the movie?
No. I don't think I ever will. No, everyone was like, that's the scariest part. I was like, I don't care. That was too much for me.
Yeah.
Even Nicolas Cage said that was the darkest movie he's ever filmed, and he would never, ever play another serial killer because the way it made him feel to make that movie. So
wow. I never saw Long Legs.
I do know that there's one horror movie that Rachel will not watch. She's seen it, hated it, and will never, like, she thinks that everyone involved in the making of it is twisted and evil.
Yeah.
Which one? Long Legs?
No.
So which one?
What is it?
Terrifier.
Oh.
I was forced to watch that when I didn't want to. And it's disgusting to me. I genuinely think that people that made it should never be allowed near a movie again and should have psychological help.
I think there's several movies that they should never have made. But yeah, I've never saw the Terrifier movies. I know they made what, 2 of them? I know it's that popular. 3. Or 3?
Yeah, there's
all
3.
I saw was the scene where the scene from the first one, and when he comes back into the room to rub salt in the wound, I was out.
No, because it's very much like anyone who truly loves that movie. It's like, no, you just want to see women get tortured. That's how I feel. And everyone that I've met that starts getting really enthusiastic and saying, oh, it's so amazing. Like when you talk to them about it a little more, they like the scenes where the women are getting tortured.
We're going to talk about Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas. Okay, this is like Die Hard. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Yes or no? I don't care what Bruce Willis said. Josh and I established that a while ago. It is a Christmas movie.
It is.
However,
Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. Now,
Nightmare
Before Christmas, Halloween movie, Christmas movie, or both A and B?
Easy question, easy answer.
Really?
Yes.
Because I think it'll be debated until the end of time. I want Rachel to chime in.
I want to see what we say.
Yeah, let's go around the room.
I say it's both. I usually watch it at the beginning of my Halloween season, which is like the end of July. And then I watch it again right after real Halloween for the beginning of Christmas, so like November 1st.
Nice. Kickoff
And you
movie.
watch it again for Christmas?
November 1st is Christmas.
Okay, so I just want to note that we have 1 out of 5 votes in right now, and the vote is positive that it is a Halloween movie.
It's both.
It is positive that it's a Halloween movie. It's also positive it's a Christmas movie. But we got 1 vote positive it's a Halloween movie. I just want to note that.
Okay, Matthew.
Gosh, I mean, I'd be in the same boat that Rachel, that it could be both. Overall, I'd probably argue that it leans more towards Christmas. It ends on Christmas, right? He, I mean, yeah, the title song is "This Is Halloween," but then like the rest of the movie revolves around him stealing Christmas and making it his own holiday. So, and he becomes Santa Claus. It's like the titular character, Jack Skellington, dresses up as Santa. I don't know. I could see it argued both ways, but in my mind, I prefer to watch it probably more around Christmas.
I just want to say, Rachel, that I like how you watch it on Halloween and then also as your kickoff. So it's the ending of one good thing and the beginning of another. That's actually a really good idea. And It is a movie I could watch 2 days in a row. I'm just saying.
I
could watch
it a very
it 3
special
times.
movie.
It is. It is.
I mean, what other movie can you think of like perfectly characterizes 2 different holidays, especially back to back, like kicking off the winter season, really?
Right. Vern, what do you think?
100%. Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie. It is a Halloween movie from beginning to end. Even the Christmas scenes are all Halloween scenes. He doesn't dress up as Santa Claus. He dresses up as a skeleton with a red suit. He cackles like a demon as he flies through the sky. He has skeletons pulling his sleigh. Everything he throws down every single chimney is a monster. Every color is drab. I mean, the assault on Christmas is pretty obvious in the movie. I mean, like there's a whole, humans are freaking out that Christmas is under assault, and that is not a good thing. But the movie kind of goes past that, and even Jack's lament in the graveyard is such a Tim Burton moment. Every single part of the vibe and DNA of that movie is a Halloween movie that takes Christmas and pulls it in for storytelling purposes and beats the shit out of it, because Santa Claus is in this movie, but Santa Claus is literally kidnapped, bagged, and tortured and almost killed. That's the closest you get to Santa. So I do respect the idea that it is a Christmas movie, but I am absolutely in the camp that it is and furthermore, I have 3 kids, and we have watched The Nightmare Before Christmas every single Halloween night after coming home from trick-or-treating. So to them, it's a real Halloween.
I'm going to leave it with, because I ditto what Vern said. I think it's very much I'm not opposed to watching it during Christmas, but it's definitely got more of a Halloween vibe overall.
Again,
I think, no, you go.
I was to say again.
I've cut you off enough times.
Again, it feels like he's reluctant in this one to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I know we get the little montage of him going around after school, and he's like happy to do it, but then he's still calling Happy Hogan at the end of the day, and like, oh, well, I helped the lady. Yeah, I helped the lady, and I did the churro thing. I can't remember the churro line, so I'm gonna paraphrase that. It just feels like the identity of Spider-Man was, again, poorly represented in this movie. The writers, for whatever reason, in this movie and in Far From Home, want to take Spider-Man out of Manhattan or any of the boroughs. I mean, he goes to Washington, D.C., it's just, it feels, it doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. It doesn't feel like the Spider-Man character that we know from the comics or any other iteration, whether it's animated or live action. And I think the other thing with it too, circling back to the high school topic that we talked about, it feels like they focused too much on that. The movie didn't really pick up till the Washington, D.C. scene when he, has to jump in and really say, like, they focus too much on his high school life. And I think that's the issue with the Spider-Man vibe in this movie, is they didn't balance it right. The fascinating part with Spider-Man is that he struggles with the dichotomy of being Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and he has to balance that, and we get that in all the other iterations. And this one, it's like, oh, I gotta go, here's zero explanation, I'm being super obvious about it, I'm gonna go fight some bad guys. And I think that's where I struggle with this film, is there is no, he wants to be Spider-Man, he wants to be a hero, and his version of Peter Parker couldn't care less until the end of the movie. So that's my take on it.
I have a comment directly on why I think that happened. It has nothing to do with in-universe anything, the character's motivation or any of that. The evolution, the impetus, the trajectory of most, once a character, usually this happens in the comics too, is once a character becomes popular enough, has enough of a foothold as a character, they need to keep pushing him somewhere. And most, if you call it street level characters, eventually inevitably get wrapped up into bigger villains, bigger schemes, cosmic shenanigans. Eventually it always heads towards bigger and grander and more complex, if you want to put it that way. But so to see that this movie, especially because it was tying in with the MCU proper, or tying in Spider-Man with the MCU proper, of course it was going to be, we can't just do entirely street level stuff. It has to turn into something bigger. So we got to have the Chitauri weaponry and the tech, and we got to have Iron Man because he's already bigger in a sense than Spider-Man is, at least in the MCU. And so I saw that as, why aren't they keeping it ground level? Well, they can't. The impetus is too strong to not have it be street level the whole way. So that's my take on why that happened.
But yeah, this was definitely a teen movie. This was a teenager movie. Like, I think of this movie very different from the other MCU movies that we've seen. Like, I mean, yes, you have some fun, crazy from Guardians side of stuff, but everything else seemed, I think it was more geared toward the young adult kind of thing. This is a teenage movie. And it's about those teenage themes going on. And I almost feel like maybe because of the time period and all the other Spider-Man stories that were out there, it was almost like they left out backstory, because it's like everybody knows the backstory by now. They've seen the other movies in the other universes, or whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got that backstory now. Let's skip that part and just focus on our movie. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I mean, for what it's worth,
in this one, I don't think the Peter Parker character was shown having very much of an arc at all, in terms of he in the other iterations where he had his origin story, the audience gets full understanding of what his motivations to either not be a hero or be a hero were. In this one, he's chomping at the bit to be a hero, or to be involved in herodom, and then he gets to be involved in the herodom, and there isn't much regret from him. There isn't much.
No, but his growth comes at the end. Yeah,
when he picks high school over
in this
hero
movie, he's work. Yeah, basically he refuses to join the Avengers after spending the whole movie.
And I don't even know if it was quite that. It was the very much shoehorned in message. If it's all about the suit, then you don't deserve the suit. And it almost mirrors back to the Iron Man stuff, like, when he had to do all this stuff without his suit, and like, I am Iron Man. Oh, this was almost the I am Spider-Man moment. If that makes sense. Like, that's how I saw that as the lesson to be learned.
Matthew, you seem to have a point that you wanted to make.
I get where Darren's going with he wants to be a hero, but he wants every other iteration of Spider-Man, we get him as the friendly neighborhood. Like, he is a hero because he supports the locality of the 5 boroughs. We don't get that in this movie. He is reluctant to do that. I don't see him as a hero in this film. He wants to be an Avenger.
He's wanting to go off to war where
right.
He should be a little more local.
That's why that's what he learns by the end, that he wants to, he doesn't join the Avengers. He wants to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He even says that specifically to Tony at the end.
Right. It's just, that's fair. It's just frustrating because we have this whole, his backstory, it focuses so much on essentially a Ferris Bueller's Day Off type of storyline where it's coming of age and, he is reluctant to do all these things because he has the powers, but he's not content throughout the film until the end. And I find that frustrating because everybody wants to be Spider-Man, right? Yes.
Yeah.
5-year-old little boys, what they want to be. They want to be Spider-Man when they grow up.
I still want to be Spider-Man.
Right.
And I'm 39.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
People always want more, though. I mean,
sure. I'm not saying.
Sorry.
Even Peter Parker in the Tobey Maguire movies, he wants, his focus and motivation is securing Mary Jane's love and being stable while also balancing Spider-Man. In this one, he just could give a rat's ass about his school life. He wants to be seen, and he wants his ascension to being an Avenger. And I get the final 30 seconds of the movie is like, oh, never mind, I'm gonna,
I'm going to stay at ground
actually come of age and realize, oh, my hometown or, my neighborhood is more important than the world. But anyway.
And then you have him off in cosmic movies after that.
I like Thor's reaction when he shows up. And he's like,
everyone likes his reaction.
Yeah.
That was a line from a kid, right? If I'm not mistaken, there was a kid who... I don't remember the whole story, but I think he was sick, a kid who was sick. And
he asked him what line he'd like him to say in the movie or something like that.
Yeah, and he said he's a friend from work, and Chris Hemsworth really liked that idea, so they incorporated it into the movie. But it works well, so...
Yeah, what do you guys think of that?
The humorous bits that landed. I like the gladiator fight a lot. Again, I was saying last week, this movie kind of takes a Tron-esque feel here. Sam Flynn getting tossed in the arena, fights Rinsler, aka Tron. You get Thor tossed into the arena, fights Hulk. And then it goes into the whole escaping through, I think they call it the Devil's Anus. And that's the whole point of Tron Legacy. So
yeah, exactly.
One of those things that I didn't like was when they had to name it that, because God forbid they give it a good name. They have to have toilet humor in there.
Well, they can't call it the Grid, so escaping the Grid. No, I really
the MCP anus.
Gosh,
Jeff Bridges anus. Oh, sorry.
The gladiator fight's cool. I like the Loki scene. Another joke that lands really well when Thor gets slammed around. I think that was a good callback. Only Loki would know about that. But it is funny that we as the audience get to see that. I think it's cool that they, start to allude to the fact that Thor doesn't need his hammer to channel lightning and be the god of thunder in this scene. I don't know. I really like the fight.
Mr.
I think it's
Sparkle
entertaining.
Fingers. Those sparkles come out of your fingers?
It's a good scene. It's a good action scene. It's good.
Yeah.
Sock'em robots type
I'm
of
not
fight.
sure how I feel about Hulk talking, though.
I
know that they were...
That's comic accurate. Hold on. You're going to say Scourge isn't comic accurate, but then you're going to be mad that Hulk is talking?
No,
that's comic accurate?
Which is comic accurate.
No, I'm not saying
Hulk
that.
is always talking in the comics.
I know, but I mean, he was a lot more talkative. In the comics, he talks, but he doesn't talk that much. The scenes in the what is it, bedroom? Just seemed, but I mean, it was still done well. Some of the humor was funny. I thought that Hulk is less verbal than that.
That was so. Coming back to the whole, Thor's, kind of his identity shift. We kind of mentioned it. He doesn't have his hammer anymore. And then we've got the whole Thor and Loki. We talked about the elevator scene and how funny that was.
You got to feel bad about
but also the connection you're making. Like It's like Thor's line, like, look, hey, this place is perfect for you. You should just stay here. And it's like Loki's shocked by, like, Thor's like, no, you know what? I finally understand where we're at now. And, you know, it's like look, I just want you to be happy, you know, type of thing. You know, that whole relationship, I felt like it was kind of a full circle coming, you know, like, you know, Loki goes off to go steal the ship and sound the alarm to get the reward. And Thor's already like, oh, Loki, we just keep doing this all the time. And he puts the little, whatever you call it, the little
zapper
thing.
Yeah.
The little zapper. The little, the
droid.
Talk a little bit about that.
Bolt.
Just that Thor's, you know, Thor's kind of his shift in identity and how the hammer, you know, he has the vision. Odin's like, oh, that was just to help you harness your power. But really, you're just, you know, he's like, you know, Harry Potter lightning bolt guy type of thing, and you might as well put that on. And but you know, the whole Thor and Loki and how they finally get up there and they work together, you know, to get back to go save.
It would have
Asgard.
been a more moving moment if Loki hadn't ruined it by, you know, immediately trying to stab Thor in the back. But it was satisfying that Thor was onto him already and knew that he was going to do that.
Right.
So
see, I like I said, I have trouble trusting Loki's intentions
I didn't
and motivations.
trust him.
So I was like, okay, when's he gonna turn? When's he gonna betray him in some way? You know?
So you were ahead of
And
then
even
he did.
Thor on that one there, Heather?
No, I think Thor knew too.
Apparently.
I think Thor knew too, because Thor was prepared for it.
Right.
So.
You had Thor. We had Thor and Loki's relationship in one. Thor and Thor: The Dark World. The two of them there. Then Avengers, and it was like, dude, Loki went full bad, you know. And it
that was
like
before the Dark World.
Right, but I'm just saying that, you know, we've had a lot of interaction. So if you think about the grand, no pun intended, scheme of this whole arc that they've gone through a few movies, all these years they put it together, you know, I think it was really well done, and how they finally connected, and how they just kind of figured themselves out, you know.
You might say it was a grand master plan.
Yeah.
It almost like they've come to accept one another, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
it would have worked if.
Wait. Let me
Go ahead.
Let me just make a point here. Okay, he revealed that Loki was masquerading as Odin on Asgard, foiled that plot. I get the feeling like when he said, you know, you should stay on Sakaar, was kind of like, why don't you just mess with these people instead of Asgard? How about that? Can you just, if you're going to do what you're going to, if you're prone to just messing with people and being selfish, do it over.
I'm sure there was, I suspect that was part of it. I suspect that was part of it. But it would have been a good ending for Loki's character if he had chosen to stay there and he hadn't stabbed Thor in the back. He might have been a happy character there. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, he would have been a good Grandmaster.
How did Iron Man 3? Do you feel like it was a good kickoff to the next phase 2, or what?
I definitely do. But part of it is because it deals with the PTSD, which, again, I think is understandable for someone who lived through the events, especially a normal human who lived through the events of the Avengers. I think that it's a good choice to show that they have PTSD, and I think they portrayed it well. From an outsider, I've never had PTSD, so I can't relate, but Tony having panic attacks, I think, makes sense, and it does humanize him, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I think it was a good call to go from the highs of the Avengers, resetting. I mean, this is basically a reset movie. We're suddenly in a new phase. You're starting it back over with the hero that started it all. So I think that was a good call. I thought it was peeling back the layers of Tony even more. I did find it a little weird that we got 3 Iron Man movies before we even got a sequel to Thor, Captain America. I mean, obviously he's the
Both of those were being worked on, though.
Right
at this point.
They came out right after, but it just I don't know. I found it odd that he got 2 movies in Phase 1, and then he got a 3rd movie before anybody else even got a sequel or mention really of a sequel. Well, Thor 2 came out later in 2013.
Although, as we discussed, and this is something that I admit I hadn't thought about it before we had our discussion on Iron Man 2, but Iron Man 2 was really kind of part 2 of his origin story. It was, we discussed that, and the more I think about it, the more true it seems that Iron Man's origin story didn't end with the first Iron Man. So this is almost like his first sequel.
Well, and you could make an argument for, and I said this before, where Tony Stark all the way to Endgame, like he's the character that's focused on the most, even in like, not to jump ahead, but you think about like Civil War, like everything that when they have Tony Stark in a movie, even if it's another character's movie, his character is the most developed by the time that's why I'm saying like this whole thing up to Endgame is really like it's the Stark saga, like the Skywalker saga. It's huge.
It's an arc.
I was just trying to think of all the characters in Avengers, who would have made the best one to, for that reset, for that first movie back. And I'm like, a Captain America movie right after Avengers might have brought it too far down in terms of like the excitability. Tony Stark as a character is still a little frenetic and his ADHD or whatever else, so he brings an energy that there's more of a calmness on the Steve Rogers story. The other, a lot of the other characters were still so new, they weren't ready for their own movie. And between Thor and Iron Man is kind of the more exciting of the two. I don't know if that all kind of played into the order of things post Avengers, post the big giant, explosion of the, combined characters to come back to reset with one of the more exciting ones, if that makes sense.
I also think that the PTSD angle was important to show right after the Avengers, and he was the most likely to have PTSD. Steve Rogers is
not
unlikely.
Sure I understand why he's the most likely.
Because Steve Rogers doesn't really get PTSD. He's just like so focused on doing good that he wouldn't be affected like that. And the super soldier serum probably protects him from it as well. I don't know the
he still had his low points too. I wouldn't.
Yeah, but I don't
that,
see him getting PTSD just based on the character. The other, like Thor,
he had
is not
PTSD
human,
just because he was asleep for so many years.
but he didn't really show he didn't show signs of PTSD.
Yeah,
he was just kind of
if
upset
they had done a
about
movie of him showing that PTSD, I don't know, it could have also been a good movie, but the character of Steve Rogers versus the character of Tony Stark, and I think you bring a little more energy with the Tony Stark.
Is the Shane Black component, because this is, to me, I think the first time where they brought in a well-known writer/director. I think of like bringing in Sam Raimi, for instance, for Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, so that you bring Shane Black in, and he's obviously got his own particular way of making movies. Obviously, like every Shane Black movie, like Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. This is a movie, like I said, I keep talking about, is they all take place during Christmas. You've got the buddy cop detective component of it, which was in Iron Man 3. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, Shane
like
Black,
the tone shift, basically the tone shift of making this more of a. It comes back to what I said, is like, if you take out the MCU, could this be about a guy who's a brilliant inventor who creates some cool inventions and stuff like that? Is it still an MCU movie? Just talk a little bit about that, like the influence there of Shane Black.
Well, Shane Black is known for, like, that's how he makes his living. He's always excelled at writing pieces that are not just focused on one person, but on how a person needs other people. So Lethal Weapon is probably his most famous story that he wrote, but he also did The Monster Squad, which was a group of kids. He did Last Action Hero, which is where Arnold Schwarzenegger is helped by a kid. And of course, The Long Kiss Goodnight, which I love, where Gina Davis is helped
such
by
an underrated movie. I don't want to get on that one, but that Long Kiss Goodnight is such a great movie.
It is. That's as close to, well, I was going to say that's a pretty perfect movie. Nothing's perfect, but that gets pretty damn close. Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson is not a pairing I ever imagined, but boy, it works.
I'm not very familiar with Shane Black's work. I've never seen Lethal Weapon, for those in the younger crowd. I have seen Monster Squad, and I really like that movie. I think it's a great Halloween
Wolfman's got nards.
Sidebar.
You've got to watch Lethal Weapon. You've got to watch both that one and the sequel, the Lethal Weapon 2. Both of them excellent movies.
I'll give them a watch. But sidebar, if you haven't seen our Halloween episode, go listen to that too. But Monster Squad, great Halloween movie. I was doing a little research on Shane Black. It looks like he helped with Predator as well.
Yeah.
Apparently
He was in Predator.
I've seen
Not
Predator.
the first one. Wait, the first one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in the first one. He's one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's crew.
Right. He was, and he was a script doctor.
But answering the question about if you take out the MCU movie, does this movie work? I think this movie's a filler movie, even though it's very good. I believe there's a handful of movies in the MCU that serve no purpose in progressing the overarching storyline of the Infinity Saga, and this is one of those. That doesn't make it a bad movie, and I think this would have been an entertaining movie had this been the first Iron Man movie. I think it would have been really great. But there's nothing involving the Infinity Stones. There's nothing involving space exploration or exploring new worlds. It's purely set on Earth, and it's set about a man and his technology and very little of his technology. So I do think that it's well written, though.
I think maybe for me, the only reason that I don't get as excited is because the scope, it's after big movies like Age of Ultron and The Winter Soldier, these movies that were huge in scope. Now this one's very grounded. It's all down to earth. It's very, a lot less locations for the most part. They do have that one trip to upstate New York, but other than that, it's all, very localized. So I don't know if that's what it is. But
it doesn't really propel the overarching Marvel story that we're in the middle of at this point.
Yeah, there's no
it's kind of a sideshow, but it's enjoyable and it's fun. It's lighthearted. It takes a step back from the big giant Marvel story that has been going on up to this point, and that's still anticipated to continue. Then and now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the real reason that they made it. There's no Infinity Stones to be found here. And you could argue that the sole reason that they made it now is because they needed to introduce Scott Lang, because Civil War is coming soon and he's going to be a part of it. I don't know if that's the only reason they did it, but that's something that I note. You're right. It doesn't really propel the Infinity Saga forward.
No, and that was my first note, was that it doesn't add, like Heather said, to the overarching story. I mean, it sets up a new character and it sets up the quantum realm, but we didn't really know what that was at the time. And it seems like Feige didn't either.
I'm not sure he was that interested in getting into it yet,
right?
Because that was something that it sounds like his plan was. It was going to be a much bigger thing when they were planning to do the Kang Dynasty.
Right. But I do like this movie. It's a good popcorn film. This is actually only the second time I've seen it, just because I think all three of the Ant-Man movies are kind of forgettable. That's not to say they're bad. Well, the third one's bad, but the first two aren't that bad. It's just they don't really do much to the scope.
They don't stand
the whole
out.
saga. Yeah. And coming off an Avengers movie right into this, I get kind of why they did that, because you go into Civil War, there is no space, there is no existential threat to humanity. Civil War is very grounded with the conflict that goes on there. It's all about the characters. So maybe this was kind of a reset, and maybe it was intentional. the whole adding the new character just because he shows up in Civil War. I mean, they could have done Spider-Man for all intents and purposes here instead of Ant-Man, if you think about that, because Spider-Man just shows up in Civil War, which nobody knew about. I mean,
when this movie came out, I don't remember if Spider-Man was could be used by Disney yet. They were in the middle of that whole legal battle, I think, when they started filming this.
And I mean, they hinted at it at the very end. They're like, well, we have a guy who climbs on walls and swings with webs. And it's like, oh, okay. What does that mean? At the time, obviously we know now. So, but I do like this movie. I definitely think it ranks in the lower half of the MCU at this point in time with how many movies we have. So for me personally,
I think Luis is definitely the best part of this whole movie. As much as I like Scott Lang and I like Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, Luis stole the show in every scene he was in. Although easily my favorites were the recaps.
Yeah, when he's telling a story, like you see, you know.
Yeah, those were always funny. I mean, so the movie was written by, I think this needs to be talked about, is Edgar Wright had been working on this movie for like 10 years. And as the MCU, they were still in that phase of, no pun intended, of still like going, oh, we need to start tweaking things for these movies that are up and coming. And Edgar Wright left right before they were started filming. They still worked off his screenplay. Peyton Reed stepped in. But I feel like, this is definitely a heist movie. Just like Captain America Civil War. Winter Soldier was definitely like a spy thriller. This was still more of a heist movie than anything else. Definitively, I don't know. I was reading that there was a lot of people going, it was kind of like a what if thing, like what if Edgar Wright had actually done the movie, like how would it have ended up? Because they wanted him to like tweak this and add this and references to this, and because they were building out this big juggernaut of the MCU, and so they're like, oh, we have to tie all these things in together and everything else, and so there were changes there, so he ended up moving. But I didn't know what you thought overall of like how this, if you felt like it was a heist movie. That's kind of how I felt like really what it was.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to mention, I like Edgar Wright in most of the movies that I've seen that he's written and directed. Not all of his movies, but
Shaun of the Dead, amazing.
I was never a big fan of that, but I know a lot of people liked it.
You shut your mouth.
But one of my favorite movies of all time, he wrote and directed and produced, was Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yep.
I love that movie. And the other one he wrote and directed that I really liked a lot was Baby Driver.
Baby Driver was good too.
Yeah, that's good.
And
Hot
I haven't
Fuzz.
seen The Running
Hot
Man.
Fuzz is...
That wasn't my type of movie, but
I love Hot.
I haven't seen The Running Man.
Fuzz. I did watch The Running Man. It wasn't... So I was expecting it to be bad, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was hard to root for. The way they wrote Ben Richards in this one, I'm just like... I
want to see it because I read the book. Before the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie came out, I read the book by Stephen King, and I loved it, and I really wanted to see it. So when Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie came out, I came to see it, and I loved the movie, but I was disappointed because it was nothing like the book at all. The only thing it had in common was the name Ben Richards and Damon Killian, and that irritated me as much as I liked that movie. So when I found out they were really sticking to the book with this new one, I wanted to see it, and it's in my laziness that's the only reason I haven't seen it yet. Because I'm lazy. From California.
It wasn't bad. It was just, I don't know. Anyway, but Running Man aside, Ant-Man.
I thought he did a good job.
I thought it was good. I mean, it was, you had that whole thing of, recruiting the team, train the hero, look at the target, get the heist, and then everything goes wrong type of scenario. And they do that a couple of times. They do it when Scott steals the Ant-Man suit the first time, and then, they put together another heist to go and get the I can't remember the name of it. The yellow jacket. Thank you. Heather, you're amazing. Thank you. But I think that this was still, I felt like with Ant-Man, it was still Marvel, still, they were making movies that, where the plot line and the storyline were, it was kind of like the superhero was just kind of a part of it and not the main thing. Kind of like what we talked about for Winter Soldier is, you had Steve Rogers running around, other than his shield, most of the time it was a spy thing. And in this one, it was kind of the same thing. The heist thing, kind of could have happened with or without the Ant-Man suit. It's just the Ant-Man suit just happened to be a part of it. Again, that's just kind of how I felt.
Yeah, the subject of the heist was Marvel more so than the movie itself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and then
I think it was a. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree with you. I do think it is a heist movie.
And of course, the next movie that we're going to talk about is one of my favorites. It's not The Winter Soldier, which is my absolute favorite MCU movie, but it is very close. Next week, we will be talking about the Avengers Infinity War. That's going to be a big one. We're going to have Ben back from Cinema Gulp, I believe that's the plan. So we're looking forward to that. If you haven't watched Cinema Gulp, you should give them a watch too. And for everyone who has been watching the show, I thank you again. Please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to comment. We like to read the comments and we'll try to respond to them if we can. I want to thank Bob, Darren, Heather, and Matthew for joining me. And as always, make tomorrow better than yesterday. I mean that. It's a good thing.